Hey, it's your guy Tyrell back with the interviews. Manchester United suffered their first defeat of the season at the hands of Brighton. Where did they go wrong? Where did Brighton go right? And can Manchester United recover from this? Don't worry, here with the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Brighton upset Manchester United. So 2 games into the Premier League season, Manchester United dropped points, losing to Brighton. In today's video, we're going to break down how Manchester United conceded goals and why they didn't score any goals, meaning why did they struggle against Brighton. When we do break it down, we have Manchester United in what should have been a 4-3-3, Lukaku up front, Mata and Martial on the flanks, in midfield, Fred, Pogba, and Pereira. For Brighton, going into more of a 4-4-2, especially without the ball, they had Murray and Gross up front. In wide areas, they went with Knockaert and they went with March, and in midfield they went with Proper and Stevens. So when we think about how Manchester United conceded goals, we have to start there. 3 goals in the first half, never good for a Jose Mourinho side, let alone Manchester United. How did they concede them? Well, you think about the issues that they had against Leicester City. Down their right side of the pitch, they had Chilwell breaking forward from fullback behind Mata. They had Gray running at Darmian. Darmian wasn't here today. Ashley Young slotted in at right back. So what we have here is Young and we have Mata. We look at the first goal and how it stemmed. Well, you have United dropping off a bit, and what happens is that Mata gets sucked into the narrow position. He's sucked into the central area. What happens here is that the ball is switched quickly to Bong, and what happens with Bong is that Bong is pushing forward. Now Ashley Young has to step to him. This allows Solly March to be able to push into that space of the half spaces on the left-hand side for Brighton. He makes that darting run. Fred watches it and he tracks with him. So Fred tracks with him, but what happens is that Bailly steps out and tracks them too. If Bailly stays there, he covers the near post, and then you have Lindelof who could cover across as well. However, they both get pulled out. No one's covering the near post, and what happens is that you have March who's able to deliver that cross into the box. You have Murray getting away from Lindelof and flicking the ball just behind De Gea to put them up 1-0. The second goal does stem from a corner kick, which they should have done better, but again, it's a long ball played into that channel as well. Bailly tracks Murray. Murray applies pressure, which he did all game, eventually got booked for it. Bailly clears his lines, concedes the corner kick, and what happens after that is history. We look to the third goal. What happens here is that often we associate Brighton with sitting deeper, but they press very well from the front, and that paid off in the end. How do they do that? Well, United are trying to build on the back. You have Lindelof and Bailly spreading the play, ensuring that they can get the fullbacks forward. What happens there? Brighton press. Forwards and Gross and Murray press the center backs. They have Pereira dropping off, so Proper steps in. That leaves Fred a bit deeper. Obviously, the wide areas are taken care of. What happens here? De Gea tries to kick the ball to Fred. He doesn't control it properly, chests it down. What happens here is Stevens steps in. So Stevens steps in, plays the ball into Gross. What happens here is that Gross is breaking into the box, but Bailly doesn't have to tackle him based on the fact that Lindelof is coming over and he's on a bad angle for De Gea to save the shot. However, Bailly slides in, takes him down. It is a penalty. The penalty is converted. In the end, it's 3-1 in the first half. United's goal came from a corner kick. That obviously should have been dealt with better, but they didn't create many chances. And we look at why they didn't create any chances. Is this Mourinho's fault? Is it the players' fault? Is it the setup? Was it just a bad day? When we break it down, we got to get back Brighton into those 2 narrow banks of 4. And why did United struggle here? Well, they lacked the links. There was no cohesion in their attack. And why was that? Well, you look at it here. You have Mata looking to come in off the right. You have Martial trying to cover off the left, and we have to give Brighton some credit here. They defended deep, they were very narrow, nothing came through the center of the pitch, but their wide players worked so hard when United's fullbacks tried to overload. We saw that happen against Leicester, where Luke Shaw ended up scoring the winner because he started to get forward. Knockout was often protecting his fullback here to ensure that Martial couldn't break forward and cut in. We had Solly March coming across to ensure that Ashley Young could never get across into the box. So you're already taking away United's creative options. They want their fullbacks to get forward. Luke Shaw's a threat. Ashley Young could deliver dangerous crosses into the box to Lukaku. The wide players in Knockout and March always got there, always worked hard to close down spaces, ensure that United could deliver as minimal crosses as they wanted to. Martial never really got going. There was only one play in the first half in transition where Pogba was able to push the ball out wide after they won the ball in the center of the pitch, and he was able to cut in, but his shot was blocked. His crosses weren't very good. Mata was ineffective from the right, and the problem here was that Pereira isn't renowned for his passing, so he's going to play it sideways. Fred, as often as he does drop deep, the most threatening passes that he did play throughout the game were diagonals out to the wider areas. We didn't see much penetration from him. That leaves a big creative burden on Paul Pogba to carry the ball forward, provide that creativity, because if you're not getting it from Mata, you're not getting it from wide areas, you're not getting it from the midfielders behind you, it has to be down to Pogba. It also doesn't help that Lukaku is shifting out to the right position, trying to chest the ball down, trying to link play, wasn't doing a very good job. What we have here is Pogba often getting on the ball, not the Pogba that we saw at the World Cup. Getting on the ball, over touching it, and taking too many steps with it, and then not being able to play that final pass. And that was the main problem here. You need to break those lines. You need combinations. They weren't getting it out in wide areas. They were moving the ball slow because players were often over touching it, and Mourinho didn't know what to do. Halftime comes, he makes changes. He takes off Mata. He moves into bringing on Rashford and Lingard. What happens is they move to more of a 4-2-3-1. Pogba drops a bit deeper. They have Lingard playing out right behind Lukaku. They push out the wider players in Martial and Rashford to get direct running, but still no real link. The attack in the midfield is too disjointed. What happens is that Rashford's making runs in behind. There was one time where Lindelof played a ball over the top. Overhit, doesn't really get to him. Lingard making runs into the channels. Lingard, to be honest, didn't really look like he was 100% fit or up to speed yet following the World Cup. He would get the ball in dangerous positions between the lines, take a good touch, but the next touch he would take would often be overhit. And the times where he did get into better positions, Paul Pogba was unable to find him. And that was what was happening throughout the second half. Pogba was getting the ball in deeper positions, trying to play Lingard over the top, trying to play Rashford over the top. His passing was not clicking on the day. He wasn't connecting with his teammates. They were all adventurous from deeper positions. And sometimes you just need him to get closer to the box. You need someone to get closer to the box. There were no passing combinations, no intelligent runs between the lines into the pockets of spaces, trying to control the tempo of the game. Everything was lethargic. It was slow. They moved to Fellaini. They turn to Fellaini, they push Lingard out wide, they have Fellaini in behind Lukaku, and this made sense simply because they needed numbers in the box. They needed to get forward. They needed to bypass. If they couldn't bypass the Brighton midfield by playing through them, why not play over top them? And that's what they were doing, getting balls into Fellaini. He was bringing them down. He was linking play, but again, nothing was really stemming from it. United's best chance of the game, barring the time when a defensive mistake was made in the first half and Lukaku pounced on it because Pogba slid him in and Lukaku flashed his shot wide. The only other chance in the second half came from Rashford delivering a cross into the box, and it was clear to Pogba at the edge, and he forced the keeper into a very good save. Pogba was involved with United winning the late penalty, driving forward, finally playing a penetrative pass between the lines to Fellaini, who made a great turn and was fouled. But besides that, it just wasn't clicking for United. Brighton sat a bit deeper when they pressed forward. They ensured that United did lose possession of the ball. We saw Knockaert, he was renowned for it, dispossessing Martial in midfield, dispossessing Pogba, helping out in the midfield to ensure that Pröpper and Stephens weren't overrun. So that was big for Brighton. But when they pressed from the front, it worked. When they sat a bit deeper, United couldn't break play through them. When they try to play out in wide areas, Knockaert and March deserve a lot of credit for protecting their fullbacks. And when you think about it, Brighton just worked harder. They wanted it more. It sounds very simple. There should be a deeper tactical explanation for this, but that is what it came down to. United made mistakes. United lacked any energy or cohesion going forward. They couldn't create chances, and this was a very poor result for them. And that is what it's going to go down to. They couldn't obviously break him behind. Pogba's passes weren't connected. Connecting with his teammates. They lacked a link between midfield and attack. They couldn't create chances, whereas the mistakes that they made in wide areas, by pressing, playing out of the back, Brighton pounced and they executed. But let me know what you guys think. Is this a sign to come for Manchester United? Are they going to be okay with Jose Mourinho? Will he last the season? And how good could Brighton be? Will they finish in the top half, or will they be flirting around relegation? And was this simply just a one-off? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget, I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.